But let me tell you a little bit about this, because there are probably some people out there who aren't familiar with the St. Jerome Catholic Church picnic, also known to non-locals as the Fancy Farm Picnic. Fancy Farm is about 10 miles outside of Mayfield, Kentucky. And Mayfield is the county seat. It's the closest thing to a big town that county's got. That town's got about 10,000 people by the last census count. Fancy Farm, meanwhile, has less than 500. So that gives you an idea of the scale there. Put it all in perspective. But Fancy Farm is, it's almost 200 years old. It was settled by Roman Catholics around 1829. And ever since then, it has been a really strongly Catholic area, making it really unique, because whenever I think of kind of religious country people, you think more Protestant. And Catholics, I've always throughout my life tended to associate with cities and towns as more urban rather than rural. But this is an exception. St. Jerome is the primary church of Fancy Farm, and it is the center point of that community, and people are very dedicated to that church, and they're very dedicated to this picnic. So the picnic itself is about 140 years old. It dates back to about 1881, and at the time it was strictly local. It was not really meant to be anything more than just this church picnic that they started having each and every year. But over time, it kind of evolved. People took notice of it, and it changed around the time. It originally started happening in May, but then it moved over into August, and August started to become the kind of the kickoff point for a lot of political campaigns. So politicians started taking notice of this picnic and would start going to it so they could make kind of a stump speech and get their campaign get it rolling and try to get people to go out and vote for them, know who they are, get their face out there. So that's how it began. And then it just kept snowballing. Over the years, it just slowly got bigger and bigger and bigger until you reach the point that you had governors and candidates for governor coming to the picnic to start their campaigns. You had senators showing up. One of the most well-known current senators going right now is Mitch McConnell, who is kind of the master of handling this picnic. Regardless of your politics, he definitely knows how to work that crowd and work that picnic to his favor. But just some other names who have been a part of this was Senator Jim Bunning, George C. Wallace, Lloyd Benson, Al Gore, Alben Barkley, among so many others. Another big thing that this picnic is famous for is, of course, barbecue. Barbecue is king in Kentucky, and it's absolutely king in Fancy Farm. And what they will do, they have this massive gathering. The entire community will get together to prepare barbecue pork and mutton, and they have these long pits that they've set up, and they will smoke these things a few days in advance, getting ready for the picnic. Thousands upon thousands of pounds of meat. How many pigs and sheep give their lives for this picnic every single year? But they're wholly dedicated to this. Nobody's making any money. They're completely dedicated to doing this themselves, and they have managed each and every year. The pandemic was the one exception. They've made this the premier event for their town. It's what they are known for. It's really, from a national perspective, it's what Graves County is known for. Mayfield, of course, has its own events. They've got July 4th celebrations. They have the Gourd Fest celebration. But the one that's really taken off and become the biggest is the Fancy Farm Picnic. And I don't know that anybody else is ever going to come close to that. So it's something that the community is very proud of, and they're very dedicated to, and they should be. It's an amazing thing. And if you happen to be in the West Kentucky area in the next week after this podcast drops, I definitely recommend you go. It's always the first Saturday in August. They decided the hottest day of the year was the time to have an outdoor picnic. Go figure.